Good afternoon, everyone. Today's title is Financial Wars equals Gold. And that's not a flippant headline at all, I'm afraid. It's a very serious one. Let's start off, as I've always said, I work only with the truth. From the truth, if we can join the dots successfully, we can come up with what is the most logical, sensible conclusions, and we can plan accordingly. We can prepare. That's the word I've used with all my clients for years now. Prepare for what is coming. So we look at the gold statistics in the world and we look and we say, okay, so who's got the most gold in the world? According to statistics, it's the US with 8,133 tonnes. Now, what happened in the election? What did Trump and Musk say? Day one, we will visit Fort Knox and do an audit. Did it happen? No. What did happen? Masses of gold was imported into the US in the first quarter of this year. That's what happened. Okay? So, putting aside what we might think, the official statistics are that America has 8,133 tonnes. Germany, second with 3,351. And then Italy, France, and then comes Russia with 2,333 and China with 2,292. Now, China with 2,292. Let's think about this, okay? So we see that number and we think, 2,292? Really? How much does China actually mine a year? Because it's the largest gold producer in the world. Not many people knew that, okay? It produces 368 million tonnes a year. Did you know that? So that takes, their reserves take 7 years. 7 years would give them the 2,292 tonnes. 7 years. And how long have they been mining? Forever. So this doesn't seem to look right to me. It doesn't seem to be the truth. And then we have to think of the US number, which isn't audited. In fact, the last time it was audited was 1974. 1974. 51 years ago was the last audit of the US gold reserves. Sounds to me like the European Commission, but we won't go there. Okay, so 51 years ago was the last audit. And Trump and Musk haven't been down there, have they? They haven't been busy counting it. I'm told it would take 18 months to do a proper audit of the reserves held in the 3 locations. It's not just Fort Knox, it's held in 2 other locations. There are 3 locations, and the total there would take 44,000 man-hours to properly audit. 18 months. So the glib promise at an election that they will value and audit the gold reserves, no, it's just not true. It's not based on truth, is it? So is that number true? We don't know. We honestly don't know. Is the China number true? I think we do know. No, it's not. 2,292 tonnes when they mine 368 tonnes every year. Not 1,000, I said 1,000 earlier, apologies. 368 tonnes a year they mine? No, they haven't got 2,200. And the other thing that China's been doing recently across South America and across Africa is it's been picking up gold and silver, doré and concentrate. It hasn't been waiting for it to be refined. No, it's been taking everything back to China to be refined. Why? Because it doesn't want the world to know how much gold and silver it actually has. A fact. Okay. So we work from the basis of we don't know the truth. We know the numbers are wrong. Just instinctively we know they're wrong. Now, then we move on to what is happening in the world. Where is this financial war that I see? Where is the truth in this financial war? Well, we saw something called Project M Bridge. And many of you may not have seen it. M Bridge, the letter M Bridge. A project devised by the BRICS countries to produce an acceptable central bank digital currency amongst the BRICS members. And that proceeded quite a long way until 31st of October 24, when it was just almost about to be launched and the Bank of International Settlements scuppered it. Said, no, this could be used for sanction busting. I've heard that before, haven't I? I've I've heard that with Bitcoin. I've heard the European Union talk about Bitcoin in that respect. We'll come on to that at a later date. So now we know that Enbridge, a project for the BRICS countries, was scuppered by the BIS. And we know that Russia's reserves, US dollar reserves, were frozen in 22 as a result of the Ukraine invasion, as they call it. And that was 600 billion. So we know that money has been weaponised. We know the dollar has been weaponised. We know that gold could easily be weaponised, because the only way that the BRICS countries, or countries who want to exist outside of a dollar universe, can operate is to have some credibility behind their currency. So to have credibility, what do they need? They need backing. And what can they back a new currency with? They can back it with gold, they can back it with silver, they can back it with commodities generally, maybe oil, yes, they can back it. But they have to have something, because it's very unlikely that people will trust a new fiat currency in a world where the predominant dollar is now not trusted enough for the system to continue to work as is. It is not trusted enough. China, Russia, Turkey, North Korea, Iran, other countries. Obviously I mentioned Iran there, and we had the what happened last night. Again, this is driving the two teams apart, driving the two contestants apart. This is the war, the financial war that we're seeing unfold in front of us. Okay, it's the dollar versus the rest. Now Europe sits in the middle, but it will lean towards the dollar side, undoubtedly, in the end. But the other groups of countries, and led by China, Pang Gongsheng, RBC governor, says we need a new system that is not dollar based. He said that last week. If you want to check up on that, go to China Update on YouTube. Very good guy, Tony, a Kiwi, who reports from China Daily. China Update, 20th of June, and he reports on Pang Gongsheng's statements following the meeting. It's vital you understand that, because at the end of the day, China, Russia, and the other countries that join that group, I never say BRICS because I don't see India joining that group. Yes, I can see South Africa maybe, but what does that matter? Not being rude, but just true. Brazil, I struggle to see them joining it in the end, being attached to America as they are. So it's Russia and China principally. North Korea, yes. Iran, yes. Venezuela, maybe. But at the end of the day, it's a consequential amount of money, of economic activity versus the dollar. So we're going to see a war. We are seeing a war. It's happening. Now, the title of this episode is Financial Wars Equal Gold. Gold. Because at the end of the day, they are going to have something that is universally perceived to have value to back a new style fiat currency. That will essentially revolve around gold. So the gold price is subject to incredible influences over the next few years. And it's very difficult to be able to put a number on that, other than the fact that it's likely to be significantly higher than we see gold at the moment, because it's going to be in so much demand. And remember, we don't know how much gold America has. We don't know, well, we know China has more than it says, but we don't know how much they have. So at some point, the numbers could be exposed. America could have an awful lot less. We don't think it'll have more, otherwise they would have been screaming about it. China will have an awful lot more. So we know that. It's a dangerous situation, and it's one that we understand to be now a war. The Central Bank Governor of China, the People's Bank of China, has said it. Okay? They need to diversify away from a dollar-based system. The only way to do that is to create an asset-backed alternate currency. And the backing will have to be gold and silver and oil. So I looked up an awful lot of notes for this presentation because you would not believe how much information there is out there at the moment, or speculation, on gold. It is phenomenal. I see $80,000 an ounce. I see $30,000 an ounce. I see any number you want to pick. You go onto YouTube, you can see any number. Let's go back to the truth. Let's go back to how much gold there really is, how much is mined each year. What are the consequences of a new currency being established, backed by gold? What would be the consequences on the US? What would be the consequences on the dollar? We don't know yet, but they're going to be massively significant. And we're going to see a financial war. We're in the midst of it now. The bank governor in China says this, the Federal Reserve says that, the ECB says this. Where will it end? We don't know. Let's work from the truth, though. Let's work from the truth. The truth is America has not audited its gold reserves, and I don't think there's any intention to do so. And they're sucking in an awful lot of gold from the rest of the world over the first quarter. Some people have labelled that tariff beating. No. That's nothing to do with tariffs. Tariffs would never have applied to gold, would they? So just noise and narrative, deflection, distraction. No. The financial war that we've got coming is going to be based around how much gold the principal actors in this war have, backed up by silver, backed up by oil, and maybe other minerals, but they will be the minor players. Gold will be front and centre. Okay, so I'm going to cut this relatively short, considering how much information, I promise you, I've got written down here. There is a lot of international noise at the moment about this issue. A lot of international noise. And I did refer to, one thing I referred to was the International Crisis Group. Go on to their site, Google the International Crisis Group, and have a look at their discussions on this. It is phenomenal, especially about basically the freezing of those Russian assets of $600 billion. If the Russia-China, if that axis does not trust the US dollar to be free and tradable, then why would they hold it? And what do they hold instead? And what do they have to hold for the world to give them credibility that their currency might actually be as strong as the dollar has been the last 50, 60 years? My conclusion has to be gold. And so financial wars, in my eyes, lead to gold being in massive demand. And we'll come on to values and things like that later on. As I say, I see YouTubes with $70,000, $30,000, $6,000. Two people I will refer you to on YouTube on this issue. Two people to add to the list that I gave you on the silver episode. Greg Manorino, you will not find a more honest or passionate person talking about American markets and gold and silver in particular. You will not find anyone more passionate, nor, in my experience, he's just never been wrong. Gregory Manorino. And look up also on YouTube, Maneco64, M-A-N-E-C-O 64. Mario's a super guy. Tremendous knowledge of history, rather like Alistair MacLeod and Andy Sheckman, names I gave you last time. Please look them up. My job is to find for you the truth. I don't mind where I find it. And I will promote anyone who works with the truth. Because you and I, need to work from the truth. And what I've told you today about what the People's Bank of China said and what happened to Russian reserves shows you there's a financial war. And that equals gold. Thank you very much for watching.